Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and selamat sejahtera to all the panelists reviewing my final year project. My name is Muhammad Hilmi bin Hairil Anwar and my UiTM ID is 2018-435-972. My supervisor for the final year project is Associate Professor Dr. Rizal Effendi bin Muhammad Nasir. Welcome to my presentation. The project title of my final year project is Flight Simulator of a Turbojet Powered Aerial Target Drone UAV for Group Artillery Pertahanan Udara or shortened as GAPU, Malaysian Army. This is the project summary of my final year project. To summarize it, Dr. Rizal gave a trial version of X-Plane 9 software. The UAV model is given by my supervisor, which is Dr. Rizal, and I had to fly the UAV using the software. All accelerations, velocities, displacements, forces, and moments are computed with the X-Plane 9 software. This is the introduction for my final year project. Military uses UAV for attacks and as decoy drones. This means that they do not have to harm any soldiers as the UAV does not need a pilot to control it. This also means that they have an advantage over the enemy to scout the front lines. Secondly, the uses of UAV have many conflicts, especially for military purposes. This is because it may cause more harm than good when it falls to the wrong hands. This is some of the literature review that I researched through the internet and research papers, but I selected two of them. The first one is from Hakan Aygun, Mehmet Emin Silgin and Onder Turan. It says turbojet powered UAVs can scan multiple ranges for military missions, keeping them out of the enemy's front line. And the second one is from Noyo Sharki, which says drones that provide intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance are nearly always present when troops move. These are the objectives of my final year project. The first one is flight simulation, which is to conduct flight simulation of the UAV on X-Plane 9 software. This is to know how the plane moves when different variables is conducted. The second one is flight data, which is to compute the data of accelerations, velocities, displacements, forces and moments via X-Plane 9 software. This is crucial as I want to know all the information and data of the UAV for it to be safe to use by the military. The scope of my research. In this research, the scope of my project is for the military, mainly the Group Artillery Pertahanan Udara, GAPU, Malaysian Army. The project acts as what the UAV are used in the military and also the pros and cons of using the UAV in the battlefield. As for the limitation of my research, some of the limitations of my project is the UAVs are not better than manned aircraft today. This is because the technology is not up to par with the aircrafts that is driven manually by pilots and therefore less accurate. On the other hand, by using the manned aircrafts, the risk of losing a soldier is higher than using a UAV drone to scout the enemy's front line. Next, the UAVs can be purchased by anyone and that might cause mayhem in the future as terrorism and bombing is getting frequent nowadays. As for the methodology of my final year project, this is the flowchart of my final year project 1. The first one is we got the start, next we go on to literature review, next we go on to problem statement, then the objectives and limitations, next is creating a model and then input the data. The next one is we must know if the data and the model is okay. If the data and the model is not okay, we have to go back to the creating a model and input the data. And if it's still not okay, we have to loop it all over again until if the data and model is okay, we can proceed to the next one and end my final year project 1. This is other methodologies that I use in my research, which is the first one is free body diagram of the UAV. The second one is the equation of motion for airfoil theory. Next is the equation of motion for the UAV, and lastly, the equations for blade element theory. The Gantt chart of my project. In this Gantt chart, I put together the FYP1 and FYP2. For the FYP1, the yellow color shows the plan while the red shows the actual. As you can see, mostly of all the actual ones are done according to the planned ones. But as for the literature review, I done it on weeks 8 and 9, while I plan to do it on week 5 to 7. This is because I had some issues with the explain software and I had to postpone the literature review 2 weeks late. In this slide, it shows the preliminary results of my flight simulation. As you can see, there are many data in the table. However, this is only a small portion of the data. This data is from when the UAV is flying in the air. The table of data shows the speed, the max speed, the angle of attack, and also the angle of side slip. All the data shows that the value is increasing as the flight is going, but the angle of side slip for the beta is kinda weird. These are some of the references that I use for my final year project 1. That is all from me. Thank you and Assalamualaikum.